Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats if you haven't. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we begin. Please make sure your mobile phones are switched to silent. I'm sure some of you have wonderful Carnatic ringtones, but we probably don't want to hear them during this event. The fire exits are both on the left and on the right of the hall, and there are bathrooms here on the lower level as well, just as you go out just after the staircase. I'm now going to hand over to Dr. Thiruvalluvar, who is the current director of the Soas South Asia Institute.
Good afternoon, everyone. So on behalf of the Soas South Asia Institute, it is with great pleasure that we welcome you all here on this gloriously almost sunny afternoon to Soas to celebrate the great Tamil scholar, philosopher, poet, Thiruvalluvar. We have an exciting program for you this afternoon with presentations, performance, and finally a panel discussion at the end of the afternoon in furthering our understandings of the significance of Thiruvalluvar, as well as the place of Tamil language, teaching, and Tamil studies here at Soas. This academic year marks Soas' centenary, and over the past 100 years, Soas has had South Asian studies and the teaching of South Asian languages as a distinctive strength of what we do here at Soas. The South Asia Institute has been in existence, however, for just over 3 years, and our mission is to serve as a gateway between Soas' expertise and the wider world of public policy, international agency, research platforms, and, importantly, communities in South Asia and its rich and vibrant diaspora. We proudly boast to have approximately 65 South Asianists, all working on a range of different areas, regions, disciplines, and topics pertaining to South Asia. Notably, we have several scholars who work particularly on and in the area of Tamil studies in some way or another. So for instance, Dr. Crispin Branfoot does research on South Indian temples, art and architecture. Professor David Moss's work is renowned on caste and Christianity in South India. Dr. Stephen Hughes works on Tamil performing arts and cinema. And Dr. Suthaharan Nadaraja has done some very important and significant work on the Sri Lankan peace process, diaspora and international relations. So we've just outside had the garlanding of the statue of Thiruvalluvar outside by our esteemed representative of the Indian High Commission, Mr. Ramaswamy Balaji, Padma Shri Dr. John Marr, and Dr. Ben Murtagh from Soas in commencing the day's proceedings. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Ben Murtagh, who is the head of the Department of South Asian and Southeast Asian Studies, to say a few words about Tamil at Soas and what we can do and what can be done in supporting Tamil studies here at Soas.
Thank you very much, Tej. Welcome once more, all of you. My name's Ben Murtagh, and I'm head of the Departments of South and Southeast Asia here at Soas. And I really am pleased to welcome you all to this very friendly and joyful day and celebrating Tamil and Tamil studies and Tamil studies here at Soas. And it's really great to see so many of you here from Tamil organizations and communities here in the UK, our representatives and friends from the Indian High Commission, and also to colleagues and friends from Soas. And all of this, of course, is to celebrate the impact and the work of Thiruvalluvar and the work and impact he's had on Tamil culture and Tamil language. Soas has a proud history of Tamil studies, and the work of academics such as Dr. John Marr, who I've had the pleasure to meet just a few moments ago, and who will be speaking later today, and Dr. Stuart Blackburn, amongst others, have really contributed a great deal to Soas's long-term engagement with the field. And for many years, my own department at Soas provided Tamil language and instruction. Unfortunately, and before my time as head of department, I should add, due to severe cuts in government funding for specialist language instruction, Soas had to make the really difficult decision to discontinue teaching in Tamil language. However, I'm pleased to say that we are committed to now reversing this decision and reinstating Tamil language instruction at SOAS. In the near future, So in the near future, we hope to be teaching Tamil to undergraduate, masters, and PhD students from SOAS and the wider university community. And this will be part of the current multidisciplinary approach to the field of Tamil studies that you've already heard a little bit about from my colleague Tej. SOAS has a long established tradition of teaching languages that aren't taught elsewhere in the UK or even in Europe. It's an incredibly important part and a central part of the school's mission and purpose. In the next academic year, we'll be creating a whole new academic department within the school, which brings together current expertise from a range of smaller departments, a whole new department dedicated to the study and teaching of languages, cultures, and linguistics of Asia and Africa. And we're determined to ensure that we play a leading role in providing comprehensive instruction in languages that aren't available at other institutions. The number one priority of this new department will be to ensure that we're teaching the languages that really matter in the 21st century. And Tamil is one of those languages. SOAS has recently launched a fundraising campaign called Questions Worth Asking. One of the questions is, should we all speak the same language? And clearly the answer from SOAS is, we don't think so. Understanding the languages of a region or a country is essential for understanding its cultures, its literatures, its religions, its politics, and its society more generally. Through learning and teaching languages, we ask different questions to advance development, prosperity, security, cohesion, and mutual understanding. SOAS has bold ambitions that you're going to be hearing more about today for advancing Tamil studies at SOAS. And in addition to re-establishing language instruction, we ultimately want to create a chair in Tamil studies as well. To meet these aims, we already have the intellectual ambition, we have the academic ambition, but we need the help of philanthropists from communities where Tamil is spoken today. And we hope that you all will accept our invitation to join us in thinking about the future of Tamil studies at SOAS and in the UK, and to help us in advancing Tamil studies at SOAS. So thank you very much, everyone.
I'd now like to invite Mr. Ramaswamy Balaji, First Secretary from the Indian High Commission.
Thank you, Dr. Natesh, Dr. Ben, Dr. John, Nandakumar. It's a pleasure to be here. Tamil being relevant even in the 21st century, it's really a great honor to be part of that language. And it is the living language, which is the old one. So promoting that language in any possible manner, we should try for that. It is heartening to learn that SOAS is trying to establish a chair. And if in any way the High Commission can help you, we are there. Coming to Thiruvalluvar itself, today I was reading that the God gave for the humans, it's the Bhagavad Gita. What man gave for God is Tiruvasagam. What man gave for man is Tirukul. Which was really a beautiful thing to think. He has put it in 1,330 couplets, how we can approach each and every problem of our life. So, one thing was that such a statue being here was not at all known. Nobody was knowing that. Just when occasionally you see SOAS, there is a statue, but you can't clearly see that, okay, this is really Thiruvalluvar's statue. Then it started with our interaction with the Tamil community that the statue is in a bad shape and then we should do something for it. It all started with that, but somehow I think the telepathy worked, and Soas on its own, they took up the initiative and then they made the statue to a better condition. Still, there is a lot of things that can be done. Like we would like to place this statue on a higher pedestal so it gives its own place. For that, we are trying our this thing, and the efforts have started. And any help from your side or any help from our side, it can put together and then we can bring it up. Another thing I want to tell is that this being India-UK Year of Culture, more such things can be planned and we can take it up. And another thing I would like to mention is that High Commission, as a part of its outreach, we are taking up programs with the different communities. And for the Tamil community, May 26th, we are organizing a program, just a get-together kind of a thing to know one another and how we can further contribute. So if any one of you are interested, you're welcome. With those few words, thanks for inviting, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So as part of Soas's centenary, I'd like to now highlight our campaign for Soas around the idea which Ben just mentioned, questions worth asking, which ask fundamental and often difficult questions, which is kind of a tradition here at Soas. One being, should we all speak the same language? I'm just going to show you a quick video.
I think the questions the world should be asking...
I think it's a huge question. What is a border?
What happens after war?
Is there a solution to the world's refugee crisis?
Should we all speak the same language?
What is the place of religion in the modern world?
The first question that really struck me was, why do we need equality? I see different stories shouting at me. Some of them really striking, some of them harrowing, some of them very beautiful.
Common communication is incredibly beneficial, but I guess you've got to look at the context that's born out of.
Do people want to go back to some sort of an abstract idea of religion and read and understand things word by word as it is written, or they want to interpret it differently and use it differently in their lives?
What happens after war? Societies and the populace tend to try to forget, and I think the intellectuals and artists do their best to remind society. I think the people that tell the truth are those who are oppressed, who are marginalised.
Whose passports have how much value and how far you can travel with, how much money you have, how much education you have. Physical borders that you can see and borders that are just imagined.
All those refugee camps that have millions and millions of people living in them and nowhere to go. We need to start looking at real viable solutions.
So it's kind of uniquely placed to answer a lot of different questions, and questions I don't think many other institutions could answer. Such a unique position to be able to ask and meet all these people with all these different perspectives.
Really does get you to think beyond your own worldview.
I've never had a conversation like the ones I've had at Soas.
So that question highlights the importance of retaining the study and teaching of lesser taught languages, such as Tamil. Often ones that have been affected by migration, displacements of its speakers, or those that do not have national status or patronage or recognition in their places of origin. In light of the challenges that government budget cuts to the teaching of such languages have presented today, Through the commemoration of Thiruvalluvar, who sits so prominently at SOAS, we're highlighting SOAS's drive to fundraise in order to reinstate Tamil language teaching and to more broadly highlight the significance of Tamil studies as a distinctive interdisciplinary field. Tamil is the 11th most widely spoken main language in the UK. And this table shows main language as those being as the Office for National Statistics defines, those who claim it to be their first language. Now there's also something missing from this data, is those people of the diaspora for whom it may be one of their main languages in a multilingual world, for whom Tamil, Hindi, Malayalam, other languages may be used simultaneously, or for second, third, fourth, fifth generation Tamil diaspora who are still retaining language being spoken at home, but it may not have been accessed through formal education. So Tamil is clearly a language that we here at SOAS would want to support, not only because of its high ranking here within the UK, but more internationally and as an area worthy of study, with language being so important to how we at SOAS value the study of other parts of the world. So this is an opportunity here at SOAS to develop a platform for Tamil studies, which crosses the borders of not only India and Sri Lanka, but also the extensive diaspora communities around the world. So in this spirit, and in the presence of all of you here today, I'd like to now officially launch the Tamil Studies campaign. I'd like to now welcome Dr. Bala Subramaniam Jadrambohan from the Institute of Commonwealth Studies in the School of Advanced Studies, who has been a driving force, along with our founding director, Professor Michael Hutt, who is here with us and who will be speaking later on today, behind the idea and planning of this event, and in providing invaluable connection with individuals and the various organizations present here today.
Okay, I'm sure some of you would recognize. This was exactly on this day, 1996, that this particular statue was installed. And so we are today commemorating this particular great occasion. And when I was asked to speak about the statue, particularly its history, two things came to my mind. One is, how do I approach the topic? Do I just give dates, events, and then say that this is the history? This is very typical of learning, where you recall facts, figures, and so on. And the second approach could be, what does the statue mean for the institution? What does it mean for the individual? And what does it mean for the community? And that community being local as well as global. So to start with the first one, so we started with this particular picture, and probably we'll go back to this particular picture and see, you might be able to recognize some people here. Definitely Dr. John Marr and Swaminathan, who is Mr. Swaminathan, who will be joining us later in this program. But then let me come to the present. This is a photograph taken from this year's convocation. And here you see some other people with Thiruvalluvar. These are the students who have graduated from SOAS. And so here we see that it's not only the official ceremonial part, but it is also the celebratory part in which the students are taking part. So between these two dates, which are very clear, I just wanted to ask a few questions. Being an academic, that comes quite naturally to ask questions. One is, what does it what's the history, what's the background to this particular statue? The decision to have a statue here was taken in 1995 at the World Tamil Conference held in Tanjavur. And then from that particular decision, the government followed it up via the High Commission and via the High Commissioner of that particular time, who kindly contacted Soas, Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. Blackburn, Stuart Blackburn, who was the head of department at the time. And then it was agreed that the statue would be installed here. And in this particular decision, just this morning, I managed to establish contact with Dr. Stuart Blackburn, and then I asked him, because he was a very well-known, and he is a very well-known folklorist, who is very well aware of the traditions in Tamil Nadu. I asked, why did you put Valluvar there? Is he supposed to be the village deity, the INR of the Soas village? Why didn't you put him right in front of this building? Then he would become a Dwarapalaka who would be guarding the institution. Or why didn't you put him inside? Then he would be a venerable figure, almost a god inside. So the answer, I'm still waiting for that answer, but maybe you might be able to think of these three aspects of Valluvar, that he is at the margins, but he is having an influence, which goes beyond the location. He's also sharing the sacred space, what is called the knowledge quarter, the 1 mile square area of different institutions in this place. He shares this space with Rabindranath Tagore a few hundred yards away, and with Mahatma Gandhi another a similar distance. So between the three, we have here Soas is able to leverage this particular great intellectual strength from India, and in order to look forward to the future. And as it was mentioned, the asks that are associated with this event are 4. One is for a chair of Tamil studies. The second is for having scholarships for people to come and study here. And the third, for students from Soas to go to India or any other place where Tamil is, as a regional aspect, as a regional language is useful, for them to do field work. And the fourth, possibly to have an exchange, student exchange, where students can go on a study abroad program to India and to other places. Now, these are the 4 asks. Probably there are too many, but they're not too many. They're all interlinked, and they're all useful for restoring not only the statue which has been now restored, but also to raise the profile of Valluvar in the academia, but also elsewhere as well in a global sense of the term. Thank you. I have invited Dr. Mar to say a few words. And as you know, he's a towering intellectual who has brought Tamil its great name within Soas and beyond. Dr. Mar.
சகோதரிகளே, நாங்கள் 2 பேரும் நானும் சம்சாரமும் நம்ம பழைய கல்லூரிக்கு வந்தவுடனே ஒரே மகிழ்ச்சி. போதும், இதுவரை ஆங்கிலத்தில் பேசுகிறேன். Quite a memorable occasion for both of us, and also, I should say, for one of my best PhD students at Soas, Dr. Nanda Kumara. So it is his college too, to come back here after some years. Some of you outside would have heard that I retired from Soas in 1992, and I think I can say commuted from Soas to Bharatiya Vidyabhavan in Kensington. And those of you who don't know us, please come to us also. Tamil studies at Soas, the origins really are now almost mythology. Before the war, there was a very eminent, do I call him a bibliophile scholar or what, Dr. L.D. Barnett. And my wife can just remember him. He was quite elderly when we were first there. Now, he, as far as one could ascertain, represented, apart from Sanskrit, also an interest in Tamil. And so it remained until the end of World War II. After the war, in 1947, the government published a report called the Scarborough Report that envisaged the growth of what was then called Oriental and African Studies at Soas and at other centres in UK. To that end, 2 teachers were appointed here. The first was one Kanaka Sabhapati Mudaliar, who had in fact been an officer in the Pioneer Corps during World War II. The other was my own particular guru, under whom I was more than blessed and fortunate, one M.S.H. Thompson. Now, Thompson Dore, as he was always called, was the first Britisher, as far as is known, to acquire a degree in Tamil of Presidency College Madras. It's still called Presidency College Madras, by the way. It's in our statute or whatever. Thompson had studied under 2 very great Tamil Vidvans. One was Dr. Uve Swaminathan Iyer, so therefore I have the good fortune to be in that Guru Parampariyam, as it were, and also Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai, the author of a number of Sthala Puranam in Tamil. So I had 2 teachers, but the main one by far was M.H.H. Thompson. He fetched up as government inspector of schools in Bangalore and returned to UK in 1946, and as far as I know, joined here in 47, 48, when I came here, incidentally. Now, I came into SOAS, I think the fairest thing to say is sideways. I won't say by the back door, but I came in through the then Professor of Indian Archaeology, Professor K.D.B. Codrington. And as a result, I studied partly here and also at the Institute of Archaeology, whereby, of course, I had the inestimable privilege of studying under Sir Mortimer Wheeler. Any of you who's involved with archaeology will have come across him. I completed my degree in 1953. I should mention the other bit of the side door. The interest that I had in India stemmed from being attached to the Indian Army before and after independence, and thereby I had learnt to read Telugu and Tamil both. And when I was first here, I was also studying firstly Telugu and then Tamil and Sanskrit both. Sanskrit under what we in Scotland would call an old-fashioned dominie called C.A. Rylands. So look him up sometime. But there was a third member of that trinity, as it were, Dr. Arnold Barker. Arnold Barker had been a Sishya of Gurudev, that is Rabindranath Tagore, before the war at Shantiniketan, and he was appointed in Sanskrit and Indian music. And because the whole powering of me, if I can call it that, the fuel had been Indian music from the very beginning when I was in the Indian Army. I encountered Carnatic music, and that was and remains my fuel. As those of you who frequent the Bhavan may have come across. Enough about me. I was appointed for Tamil initially in 1955, along with Dr. Ronald Asher, who came in by a very different route, came in via linguistics and French. And we were both appointed, but our interests were very different. His was in modern Tamil and linguistics, whereas I was attracted to Sangat Tamil on the one hand, and the devotional writing of the Arwar and Nayanmar on the other. Ron Asher eventually commuted to Edinburgh and fetched up as Vice-Chancellor of Edinburgh University. We never had a large number of students for Tamil, and towards the end of my career, I became also involved with Indian art and archaeology, and the number of students for that meant that I really had very little room or time left for Tamil teaching. I think the largest number at any one time was 6. But among them were 2 extremely good PhD students. One I'm sure you will have come across, that is Professor David Schulman, who's now at Hebrew University, Jerusalem. He was one, and the other, a lady who is probably now in India, our leading archaeometallurgist, that is Dr. Sharada Srinivasan. And so I was very lucky with PhD students, rather more numerous than first-degree students, who remained always, I'm afraid, in single figures. Along with that, we were involved with spoken Tamil course, and here is where the third person whom I was very lucky to come as an associate with me, what we called an assistant, was one Potko, as you always abbreviated, Dr. Kodandaraman, who in fact lived with us for a year while he and I were devising the Tamil spoken course that was in fact funded by the government under the Voluntary Service Overseas Programme. So we devised a Tamil language course, illustrations by my wife, by the way, as she by then was. Thank you. So the spoken course also took off. I retired, as I said earlier, in 1992, and I was succeeded by Dr. Stuart Blackburn, who, I gather, after some years, commuted from Tamil to northeast India, somewhere. I met him, I think, just once or twice, casually. I didn't have a very good record of publication, in case you start looking me up, for the simple reason that I didn't want to write anything unless I felt I had something either interesting or original to contribute. So in fact, my writing, I fear, strayed into Southeast Asia, to wit the royal ceremonies in Thailand on the one hand, and on the other to work connected with the Shiva temple, the Airavateshwara temple at Dharasuram. Now, I think my time is up, so it just remains for me to say Vanakkam.
Thank you, Dr. Ma. I'd like to now invite the director of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Dr. Nanda Kumara.
Namaste, friends. I'm so grateful to have been asked to say a few words. We in the Bhavan, we teach 5 languages: Sanskrit, Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali, and Tamil. I'm so happy that our Tamil teacher who is teaching at the Bhavan is here now, Srimati Rani Srinivasan, who has been one of the organizers of this event this evening. At the Bhavan, not only we teach languages, we do teach various subjects in the field of our art: music, dance, drama, yoga, and languages. Of these, our courses in the field of Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam dance, mridangam, violin, lots of students are interested in these. Through this, we are able to introduce our children into the very special field of our culture. In our Vedas, it is said, Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. That is real culture which helps any individual to free himself or herself from all kinds of bondages. Our effort in the field of our art and culture is to make sure that our children are connected with our art and culture, through which they will be able to understand the very essence of our heritage. I'm really grateful for all our friends here at South Asia Institute for giving me this opportunity to say a few words. In the past at the Bhavan, I just would like to mention the names of some of our teachers who were there, who used to teach Tamil. Another teacher who retired recently is Srimati Manian, who is sitting here. In the past, we had one lady by name Maitreyi Ganeshan. Prior to that one, Panchanathan. But at the moment, Srimati Rani Srinivasan is teaching. I'm so happy that a product of School of Oriental African Studies, my guru is here, Dr. John Marr, and I'm so happy that I have been asked to say a few words. Now you will be witnessing some aspects of our art and culture through music and dance by the students of the Bhavan, our language students, our music and dance students, with the help of our teacher. Thank you. Namaste.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, while the dance team is getting ready for the Bharatanatyam, specially choreographed for this event, let me mention a few things that went into the planning of this particular program. When we met Dr. Nanda Kumara in his office to request the Bhavan to help us to bring in the cultural side of things, one request was that we should have a Bharatanatyam dance, not just as a dance, not just with the traditional themes that you normally find, but we should have something choreographed especially for this occasion, especially on Thiruvalluvar and Tirukul. So the idea is that we are adopting a dance format for this particular occasion. So what you're going to see is something which has Thiruvalluvar and Tirukul as the themes, and what we'll see again here is an interesting combination of traditional art with a specific theme and with a specific appeal. So, to explain these things, Lakshmi will be explaining the significance of the innovative dance that we're going to look at in a few minutes.
Vanakkam. In accordance with today's Thiruvalluvar celebration day, the next item will be a Bharatanatyam performance by students of Guru Sri Prakash Yadukode of the Bhavan Centre, London. Today we celebrate the great Tamil classic, the sacred verses, the Tirukul, a book for any individual in any situation during any lifetime. Penned by the esteemed Thiruvalluvar, he highlights the everyday virtues of an individual, the light of a righteous life, and the wealth of wisdom. Morals and practical principles that we strive to follow in our daily lives as our contribution to society. Today we have selected a few verses to present today. A, alpha or ana, the first letter in any alphabet and the source of birth. Likewise, God alone is the source of all in this universe and the first and foremost beyond all. Next, we appreciate the beautiful sound of the flute and the yal instrument. However, it is those who have not listened to their own children's sweet babbling who think that such musical instruments are more beautiful. In the third stanza, we think about the joy a mother has on the birth of her own child. Yet this joy is nothing in comparison to the great happiness she has on hearing how her son has grown up to be a noble scholar and wise man. In the last stanza, the duty and the greatest gift a father can give his son is to make sure that he is first in the entire council of wise men. Tirukul in Ragamalika and Tishramadi. Introducing today's artists on the Natavangam, Guru Sri Prakash Yadukode. Sri Prakash Yadukode is one of the foremost exponents of Bharatanatyam today, with an unparalleled mastery of this divine art form and an incomparable dedication to teaching. He has played a significant role in shaping Bharatanatyam in UK today. Providing vocal accompaniment, students of Srimati Sivasakti Sivanesan, Shankari Rajendran and Sivahami Sibi. Srimati Sivasakti Sivanesan is a gem in the world of Carnatic music and has inspired hundreds and nurtured thousands of students of vocal and veena, with many of them performing at professional levels today. Shankari Rajendran is currently studying psychology at university level, and Sivahami Sibi is currently pursuing her GCSEs. On the Mridangam tonight, Sri M. Balachandar. Representing the Palani Subramania Pillai style, Sri M. Balachandar combines a great adherence to the traditions of his gurus with his own unique and innovative style of teaching and playing. He is the most sought after Mridangist in Europe and is currently the resident Mridangam teacher at the Bhavan Centre, London. On violin tonight, Sri Balu Raghuraman. An accomplished violinist, both as a soloist and as an accompanist, Sri Balu Raghuraman has a way of soulfully addressing the heart and conveying the meaning, the beautiful meaning of the music to each individual listener. He is currently the resident violin teacher at the Bhavan Centre, London. Bharatanatyam students performing today are Priya Bhavanidhan, Shivangi Chandrasekhar, Meenakshi Veeramani, and Lakshmi Kuhendran. Bhavan's next Bharatanatyam production, Shivoham, will be on the Saturday, 16th of July, performed by Akshay Prakash, son and senior disciple of our Guru, Sri Prakash Yadagude. Thank you.
Gama கேட்டதாய் ஈன்ற பொழுதில் பெரிதுவர்க்கும் தன் மகனை சான்றோம் என 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 கேட்டதாய் ஈன்ற பொழுதில் பெரிதுவர்க்கும் தன் மகனே கதானி கரி சசனி கரி சசனி கரி சரிகா கதானி கரி சசனி கரி சசனி கரி சரிகா சரிகா ரிகதா கதனி ககதரணி கரி சசனி கரி சசனி கரி சரிகா சரிக சரிக தரி கதனி ககதரணி கரி சசனி கரி சசனி கரி சரிகா சரிக ரக ரிகதனி சானி கரி கதனி கரி சானி தனி சரிகா கரி சானி தரி சானி கதனி சரி கரி சானி தரி சானி சானி கரி தந்தை மகர் காற்றும் நன்றி அபயத்து முந்தே இருபச்சைய தந்தை மகர் காற்றும் நன்றி அபயத்து முந்தே இருபச்சைய தந்தை மகர் காற்றும் நன்றி அபயத்து முந்தே இருபச்சைய தந்தை மகர் காற்றும் நன்றி கதானி கரி சசனி கரி சசனி கரி சரிகா சரிகா ரிகத கதனி மகம பதனி சத்ஸ சசனி கரி சனி சத்ஸ சசனி கரி ரிரி சனி ரிசர சனி கரி ரபம பதனி கரி கரி ச கரி சனி கரி சனி கரி ச நிரப சனி ரபம ப ரிக ரிகம ரிகம ப ரிகம பம கம பரபம ப நிதனி ச ரிம சரி நிச பரி பரி சனி பரி ச நிபம சரி மபனி அகர முதல எழுத்தெல்லாம் மாறி பகவன் முதற்றி உலக உலக அகர முதல எழுத்தெல்லாம் மாறி பகவன் முதற்றே உலக உலக அகர முதல எழுத்தெல்லாம் ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலக ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலக ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலக உலக உலக
The extraordinary diversity of students here pursuing Tamil at the Bhavan. They are very keen to present Tirukul, and you would see their enthusiasm and interest in the way they are presenting it. So while we're doing this, it's very important to recognize that this is a book which places emphasis on universality, on global perception, which is global perception of human beings without reference to man-made boundaries of religion, caste, creed, nationality, and other what Tagore calls narrow domestic walls. And in this particular universal work, you would find that the reference to God is very abstract, and also the book itself is a product of extraordinary contestation of ideas between different faiths in the southern part of India, including Christianity at that particular time, which was related to St. Thomas making his way to Kerala and beyond. Now, okay, now we are starting the program. Thank you.
வணக்கம். இன்று நாங்கள் திருக்குறளையும் அதன் ஆசிரியர் திருவள்ளுவரையும் பற்றி நாங்கள் கற்றவற்றை நீங்கள் அறிய உங்களுக்கு வழங்க இருக்கிறோம்.
Today we will explain to you what we have learned about Tirukul and its author Thiruvalluvar. First it would be about Thiruvalluvar.
திருவள்ளுவர் கிமு 400க்கும் கிபி 200க்கும் இடைப்பட்ட காலத்தில் வாழ்ந்த தெய்வ புலவர்.
It is believed that Thiruvalluvar, the divine poet and sage, lived between 400 BC and 200 AD.
திருவள்ளுவர் திருக்குறளை தமிழ் சங்கத்தில் அரங்கேற்றம் செய்ய மிகவும் சிரமப்பட்டதாகவும் முடிவில் ஔவையாரின் துணையோடு மதுரையில் அரங்கேற்றியதாக நம்பப்படுகிறது. In the ancient times, the only way to get your literary work recognized was through the Tamil Sangam. In this case, Thiruvalluvar found it extremely difficult to get his work recognized. However, he finally got his work recognized with the help of an ancient poet Auvayar.
அடுத்த திருக்குறளை பற்றி. திருக்குறள் ஒரு வாழ்வியல் நூல். திருக்குறள் 1330 குறட்பாக்களை கொண்டது. அது மேலும் அறம், பொருள், இன்பம் என்று 3 பகுதிகளாக பிரிக்கப்பட்டுள்ளது.
Next, it would be about Tirukul.
Tirukul is a guide to ethical life. It consists of 1,330 couplets. Furthermore, it is divided into 3 sections, which are Aram, righteousness, Purul, material world, and Inbam, love.
Here are a few Tirukurals with translations by Reverend G. Pope.
அறம் அதிகாரம் விருந்தோம்பல். குறள் எண் 90. மோப்ப குறையும் அனிச்சம். முகம் திரிந்து நோக்க குறையும் விருந்து. The flower of anicca withers away, if you do but its fragrance inhale. If the face of the host cold welcome convey, the guest's heart within him will fail.
நாடென்ப நாடா வளத்தன நாடெல்ல நாட வளந்தரு நாடு. That is the land that yields increase unsought. That is no land whose gifts will toil or bought.
நவில் தோறும் நூல் நயம் போலும் பயில் தோறும் பண்புடையாளர் தொடர்பு. Learn scroll the more you ponder, sweeter grows the mental food. So the heart by use grows fonder, bonding friendship with the good. பொருள் கல்வி திருக்குறள் உவப்பத்தலை கூடி உள்ளம் பிரிதல் அநேகே புலவர் தொழில். You meet with joy of pleasant thought heart, such is the learned scholar's wondrous art.
மழித்தலும் நீட்டலும் வேண்டா உலகம் பழித்தது ஒழித்து விடின். What's worth of shaven head or tresses long? If you shun, what will all the world condemns as wrong?
அறத்துப்பால் அதிகாரம் கடவால் வார்த்து.
குறள் எண் 1. அகர முதல எழுத்தெல்லாம் ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலகு. A, as its first of letters, every speech maintains. The primal deity is first through all the world's domains. And so I conclude the final part of this recitation with the first Quran.
நாங்கள் உங்களுக்கு வழங்கிய திருக்குறள் உரையை நீங்கள் கேட்டு மகிழ்ந்ததற்கு நன்றி.
நன்றி.
Thank you for coming to our performance. We hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, we'll begin session 2 now, and we'll begin with vocal music in the Carnatic tradition with students from the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, led by Mrs. Shivashakti Shivanasan, who's the vocal teacher there.
Namaste. Thiruvalluvar is a celebrated Tamil poet and philosopher whose greatest contribution to Tamil literature is the revered Tirukul. Tirukul illustrates human morals and betterments in life and has been translated into several languages. The Kurals we have chosen for today's performance are Agara Modala Yeruthellam Adi Bhagavan Mudatre Ulagu. Ana is the first of the letters in all alphabets, in the same way that God, the primal deity, is the foremost in the entire universe. Piravi Perunkadal Neenduvar, Neendar, Irevan Adi Seradar. Only those who are united to the feet of God can swim the great sea of births. Selvatul Selvam Sevichelvam, Atchelvam Selvatul Ellam Tale. Wealth is gained by the ear. Wealth gained by the ear is the wealth of wealth. That wealth is the chief of wealth. Malar Misei Yeginan, Maanadi Serndar, Nilamise Nidu Valvar. Those who are faithful to God's glorious feet, who pass swiftly over the flower of the mind, shall flourish long above all worlds. Kattrada Naalaya Payan, Enkol Valarivan, Natral Thorar Yenin. What profit have those derived from learning, who worship not the good feet of him who is possessed of pure knowledge? Porivayil Ainda Vittan, Poitir Orukam, Neri Nindrar, Nidu Valvar. Those who are not distracted by the 5 senses, who follow God's path devoid of any sincerity, will succeed and live long. Thank you. Selvam
அச்செல்வம் செல்வத்துள் எல்லாம் தலை செல்வத்துள் செல்வம் செவிச்செல்வம் அச்செல்வம் செல்வத்துள் எல்லாம் தலை மலர் மீசை ஏகினார் மாரடி சேந்தார் நீலமிசை நீடு வாழ்வார் மலர் மீசை ஏகினார் மானடி சேர்ந்தார் நீலமிசை நீடு வாழ்வார் கற்றதனாலாய பயனின் கொள் வாளறிவள் நற்றார் தோழார் எனில் 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 பொறிவாயில் ஐந்து வித்தான் பொய்தீர் ஒழுக்கம் 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 நெறி நின்றார் நீடு வாழ்வார் பொறிவாயில் ஐந்து வித்தான் பொய்
Okay, thank you very much. And it's been such a delight to see all these lovely performances from the Bhavan, which are celebrating and providing their own original interpretations of the work of Thiruvalluvar. I would now like to invite two exciting translators to the stage. One is Professor Michael Hutt, Soas's very own Professor Mike Hutt, who will be reading from a Nepali translation of the Tirukul. The other is Mr. Madan S. Raja, who we're delighted to have here. Mr. Madan Raja is the chair of the Wales Tamil Sangam, founder and chair, and is also currently chair of the Federation of Tamil Associations in the UK. So could I please ask Mike and Madan to come to the stage?
அங்கிங்கனாதபடி எங்கும் பிரகாசமாக இருக்கக்கூடிய என்னுடைய தமிழ் சமூகத்துக்கு என்னுடைய முதல் வணக்கம். I have prepared a lot. I made my journey from Wales today. The only thing is stick in my mind is take diversion. Junction 23 is closed or something else like that. It's a joke. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, former President of India, says, dream. The dream doesn't come in your sleep. The dream which doesn't allow you to sleep. There are many dreams in my life. Wales Tamil Sangam is one among those. 2011, we have started that up by myself. The last event we hosted, we represented the entire Tamil community in Cardiff. We hosted the Diwali festival, where Mr. Rajan from Indian High Commission, being a guest for that event. Nearly 5,000 people attended that event. Mahatma Gandhi says, in my next birth, I want to be a Tamilian just to learn Tamil language, just to learn the Tirukul. So imagine how strong is that book is. There is a saying in my language, கடுகை துளைத்து ஏழு கடல் புகுத்தி குறுகு தரித்த குரல். It's small like a little mustard seed, but the knowledge in it, it's like bigger than oceans. So I'm really happy to be sharing this dais with a lot of brainies. When I heard doctors, professors, lecturers, my top body is okay, but my bottom is a little shaky. I'm still having that student mindset. I'm glad that they announced me as the founder chairman for Wales Tamil Sangam, but unfortunately I'm not the chair for Federation of Tamil Association. Mr. Jacob Ravibalan is the chair for FETA UK, and he works immensely with Indian High Commission and rest of the Tamil associations around UK to support the entire Tamil community in UK. There are 700,000 Welsh speakers in the United Kingdom, 550,000 in Wales, and rest of them spread around the country. So I'm happy to be here to fulfill one of my dreams. We are at a very early stage in translating Tirukul in Welsh language, but at this early stage, this would be my first stage for recognizing that work. Thank you, all of you. Thank you once again. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Hutt. I'm Professor of Nepali and Himalayan Studies here at Soas, which is just about as far as you can get from Kanyakumari without leaving South Asia. But I'm very delighted to see this program taking place today. It's something that a number of us have been talking about as a possibility for the last couple of years, so it's great to have you all here. What I would like to talk to you about is actually a Nepali translation of Tirukul that was produced, I hasten to add, not by myself. I'm afraid I've never had the opportunity to study Tamil myself, but actually by the father of one of my better Nepali friends. My friend is named Dr. Pratyush Onta. He is the research director of an academic NGO in Kathmandu called Martin Chautari. His father is Tirtharaj Onta, who is here on the screen, who has had a long and interesting career in many different capacities in Kathmandu and in Nepal, and is also a good friend of mine. And some years ago, he said, "Oh, by the way, I've just translated this work from Tamil. Here's a copy of it." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much." And I looked at it sort of rather briefly, I have to say, and set it to one side and carried on with my own work. And then a couple of years ago, I was invited by the Tamil reading group to come to their Thiruvalluvar, and I suddenly remembered this book, and I mentioned it, and they were very excited and pleased to know that this great work had been translated into Nepali. So when I knew this event was coming up, I wrote to Tirtharaj Onta and said, "Could you just give me a few words to say from yourself about why you translated this work into Nepali and how you went about it?" And he very kindly sent me some words. So what I'm going to do is read you his words about why he translated this book into Nepali. So he writes as follows. "I got this book from a student from Madras, now called Chennai, who came to Nepal to appear in the BA examination of Tribhuvan University. This is the National University of Nepal. As a private candidate in the late 1960s, he brought this book as a gift for me. The book contains the original Tamil text on the left-hand side. The English translation is given on the right-hand side. I read this book then and found it both interesting and useful in guiding humans in different aspects of their lives. After reading it, I put this book away in my collection. As the years passed, I almost forgot about it. As a regular reader of Indian newspapers for over 5 decades, while reading The Hindu, dated the 6th of August 2004, I came across a news report that reminded me about this book. That news item stated that the then President of India, the former scientist and great thinker philosopher Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, displayed various excerpts from the great epic Tirukul in the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. The news report also mentioned that he had written commentaries on this epic. This epic, believed to have been written over 2,000 years ago, is regarded as the Gita of South India and read with great love and devotion. It has been translated into more than 90 languages. After reading this news report, I recalled that I had also read this book a long time ago. I looked for it in my collection and I found it. I read it and reread it several times. Having translated several books earlier, the thought of translating this book into Nepali came to me. I began translating Tirukul into Nepali from the English text I had sometime in August 2005. Tirukul has 133 chapters, and each chapter has 10 maxims, each of which are deeply related to our lives. It took me about 5 months to complete the first draft of the translation. I was not happy with the initial draft, and hence I kept revising it. I revised the whole translation more than 5 times. When I had a much revised version of the translation, I thought that someone who knows both Tamil and Nepali should read my translation and suggest to me if my Nepali text was faithful to the original Tamil text. Since I did not know any Nepali who could read Tamil, I contacted the Indian embassy in Kathmandu. The then cultural secretary serving at the embassy suggested to me that Mr. Krishna Swami, a Tamil-speaking chartered accountant who had been living in Nepal for over 40 years, could possibly help me with this task. I contacted him and he very kindly agreed to read both the Tamil and Nepali texts and help me revise my translation. We met several times to go through the text together, and I revised the Nepali text as per his suggestions. Subsequently, he opined that the much revised Nepali version was quite near to the original Tamil version and carried the thoughts encompassed in the epic Tirukul. Upon my request, Mr. Krishnaswamy agreed to also write a foreword to the Nepali translation. In it, he expressed his satisfaction and happiness about the fact that the great epic written in the Tamil language was now also available in Nepali. I made the arrangement to publish this book through the Onta Family Trust, named Guna Onta Seva Pratishthan. It was published in the year 2012 and was launched in a modest ceremony organized at the Kathmandu Valley Public Library in downtown Kathmandu. Personally speaking, I am very satisfied with this translated book. This is the first Nepali translation of any work originally written in any South Indian language. Those who have read my translation have expressed their satisfaction and found the book to be very useful. So as I think there are no Nepali speakers in today's audience, I won't read you too much of the translation, but just one of the many maxims, which is from part 73, verse 1. So the Nepali reads, Vaktirfa kalama parangat vivanharulle, afole bona lagiko saba, utkrishtrota haru kushaktisali saba humane kura pujera bolda pani, kuni kisimku buruchu garne chainan. That's in the Nepali. So my English translation of that, without reference to the Tamil, I hasten to add, is as follows. If scholars who are past masters in the art of speaking assume that the assembly they are addressing is a powerful assembly of the most excellent listeners, they will make no error or mistake at all. So thank you kindly for being a powerful assembly of the most excellent listeners. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to now watch a video which was recorded especially for this occasion. When we were planning this event, we thought of inviting 3 eminent professors who are specialized in this literature, in the literature of this era, and in Tirukul and Thiruvalluvar in particular. And one of them was Professor Arivu Nambi, the head of Department of Tamil at University of Pondicherry. And the second one was former head of Department of Tamil at the University of Madras. And the third was Professor Manuel from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh. The idea was to bring to the meeting expertise from 3 different areas, 3 different political units, but encompassed within a single cultural unit. Because the borders of Tamil Nadu were described as Vadavengadam, Ten Kumari. Southern part was Kanyakumari, the southernmost part of India, and the northern part is Tirupati, or Vadavengadam as it is. Vengadam is the name for Tirupati. So, unfortunately, Professor Arivu Nambi, while waiting for correspondence from us, correspondence particularly with regard to his air ticket and also his visa and things like that, he died of heart attack. And so we miss him today. The second one was unable to contribute for various reasons, personal reasons, so to speak. And so we have the professor from Tirupati, Sri Venkateswara University, giving his presentation today. And so the important aspect of this is that the overlap between political borders and cultural borders might be different. And so we would probably want to reflect on the position of Thiruvalluvar beyond political borders of Tamil Nadu and other formations that we think about. And so I would play this tape, and if there are any questions, willing to field one or two of them, but I would probably forward those questions to Professor Manuel and then get back to you with the results or with his comments. But at the moment, let's enjoy his presentation. Thank you.
Respected Dr. Ben Uddhav, dear Ramasamy Balaji, esteemed Dr. Navtej Barwal, beloved friend Dr. Balasubramanian Chandramohan, ladies and gentlemen, Vanakkam. At the outset, I would like to thank the authorities of School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, for inviting me to share my feelings in this historic event on Thiruvalluvar. Thiruvalluvar and Tirukul is very famous names in Tamil Nadu. The biography of Thiruvalluvar is not known clearly. He lived during the 1st century AD. He belongs to a farmer's family. He may be associated or served in the court or a personal secretary to the king. All these experiences should have molded Thiruvalluvar to the highest level of thinking. There are so many stories, tales on the life history of Thiruvalluvar. None of them have authentic proof. Therefore, I leave this matter to the audience conscience, because he belongs to an age about 2000 years ago. In the very beginning, he invoked invoke one supreme being or God in 10 couplets common to all people professing several faiths and living in different parts of the world. That itself is an indication that the subsequent chapters contain universal truth applicable to all. It may be said that Tirukul is a codification of human conduct in this world. It deals with spiritual life, domestic life, how the king should rule and how the ministers should advise and act, etc. The benefit derived from a treatise must be virtue, wealth, enjoyment, and heaven or paradise. First and foremost, he deals with education. He said that education is a must to everyone. Education is not only productive of national wealth, but constitutes by itself imperishable and flawless wealth. Valluvar sees in education a potent force for good in every sphere, and lack of it a sure means of disaster. Thiruvalluvar has given us a life-affirming philosophy based on sound principles of morality, which is destined to bring happiness and peace to any society that opts for it. We are proud of his priceless ideas. That's why poet Subramania Bharati says that the Tamil Nadu has achieved high renown by presenting Valluvar to the world. A study of Thiruvalluvar will reveal how he is more a fundamental thinker and less a traditionalist. The validity of Tirukul arises from the fact that he was speaking to a free society whose conduct is governed by reason and wherein there is no room for dogmatism. His views on socialistic life, individual character, good society, prosperity, poverty, etc. can be known from the following couplets. Share your bread with needy. Love all that breathes on earth. All these are the greatest soul's expectations. Quran 3:22. The noble manliness which looks not at the wife of another is to the wise not mere virtue, but the very law of their being. Quran 148. That body where love dwell in the seat of life, all others are skin-clad bones. Quran 80. Love, modesty, impartiality, sympathy, and truthfulness are the 5 pillars of nobility. Quran 983. On wealth, Thiruvalluvar says, whether it is the individual or the state that is engaged in acquiring the wealth, everyone should take meticulous care that at every stage the moral code is kept in view. According to Thiruvalluvar, the wealth acquired with the knowledge of the proper means and without foul practices will yield virtue and happiness. Men should act quickly. Otherwise, men should action oriented. Mere talk, not enough. Many think but won't act. Some people chalk out a plan, but neither initiation nor pursuance. According to K.A.P. Viswanathan, Thiruvalluvar insists nearly 200 couplets that need of the pursuance of any work immediately in order to get fruitful result. If we go through some of the couplets, we can understand his critical mind on research also. எப்பொருள் யார் யார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. 423. And then அறிய கற்று ஆசற்றார் கண்ணும் தெரியுங்கால் இன்மை அரிதே வெளிறு. Quran 503. One must not believe blindly by simply hearing, but should find out the truth without faith. Because even if a person possesses wisdom, sometimes he too have errors. Like that we come across many Qurans. Thiruvalluvar deals love and sexual embellishment in the last chapter. He takes all care to present the vulnerable matter without any indecent manner. For example, I quote, Malarinum மெல்லியது காமம் சிலர் அதன் செவ்வி தலைப்படுவர். 1289. Malarinum மெல்லியது காமம் சிலர் அதன் செவ்வி தலைப்படுவர். Sex is very sensitive and important too. It should be handled very carefully. Only a few who are matured enough can deal it smoothly and affectionately. Brothers and sisters, recently the Central Institute of Classical Tamil published a compendium of Tirukul translations in English, in which the editor, Mr. A.A. Manavalan, selected 18 different versions of English translations. He also mentioned about the translator's notes and details of publications. I understand that this great treatise, masterpiece, Tirukul is being translated in almost all languages in India, and a good number of foreign languages also added in this list. I would like to conclude. If Tirukul is a work for all times, how relevant is it to the modern world? Tirukul deals with the essentials of human nature. Its observations go beyond nationality and language. Hence, it is acclaimed as a universal book of humanities for all ages and climes. I once again thank the authorities who has given me a chance to stand before you and say and share my feelings in Tirukul, the great masterpiece in Tamil. Thank you, one and all.
I would like to wrap up this particular video with one piece of information which I want to share with you, that the government of Tamil Nadu instituted a chair called Thiruvalluvar chair at Sri Venkateswara University. So we hope that we will have a chair in Soas too. Thank you.
Okay, could I call the roundtable participants to the stage, please? That's Professor Hutt, Mr. Suresh Kumar, Mr. Kutiyandasamy, and Mr. Swaminathan. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. This is the last item in our program today. My name is Dr. Meera Sabaratnam. I am a lecturer here at Soas in the Department of Politics and International Studies. I teach and study international relations. Unfortunately, I don't teach and study Tamil, but hopefully we'll have a chair soon and I can go in my lunch break to take some better classes. I'm delighted to be involved in this event, and I'm coming at this not as a scholar of Tamil, but as someone whose heritage is Tamil. So my family is Sri Lankan Tamil, and from a young age I've been going to a lot of Tamil cultural events. And at Hertfordshire Tamil School, I learned my Ana Avana and my Sarigama Padanisa. I'm not sure I'm very much better than I was, but I hope that's something that will change. So the purpose of this roundtable is to really ask about the future of Tamil studies. We have seen from today that we have a very rich heritage, which is full of thought. It's a very old heritage, which deserves to be heard about. And I've asked these lovely speakers to come and share their thoughts about what the future should look like. So I'm just going to begin by introducing our speakers, and I'll start on my far left. I'd like to introduce Mr. Kutiyandasamy, who is president of the London Tamil Sangam. He's a graduate of engineering from India, and he's worked as a teacher, a lecturer in a polytechnic, and also as an engineer in a thermal power station. He's done a postgraduate diploma in advanced social research and statistics, and for most of his professional career he's been at the London Borough of Newnham as an education welfare officer and then deputy chief education welfare officer, and since then he's worked for a charity. Now today he's here in his capacity as president of the London Tamil Sangam since 2013. He was also a voluntary Tamil teacher and the head teacher for the Tamil school between 1994 and 2000. Thank you and welcome. Next on my left I have Mr. Suresh Kumar, who is here representing the Tamil reading group at Brent Library, and if you are interested in joining a Tamil reading group I would recommend getting in touch with him afterwards. Suresh Kumar is also an engineer academically and has been an administrator by profession. He developed his interest in Ilakya Tamil from his school days, thanks to his Tamil teachers, and he has written more than 100 haiku-style poems, widely known as Puttu Kavide. He is quite interested in analysing Tamil history and the living style and the heritage of Tamil civilization, which has mean he's been collecting materials, and he's also visited over 500 ancient temples, Tamil temples. I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Kumar today. Mike Hutt, you have already met today, but he's our professor here in Nepali and Himalayan studies. He was also head of the South Asia department at Soas, and he has served as Associate Dean and Dean of the Faculty of Languages and Cultures. And he's also been appointed the chair of the British Academy's South Asia Area Panel. So the British Academy is obviously an important national institution for the promotion of the arts and the humanities. So it's very important that we have Mike in that role. And finally, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Santana Swaminathan, who's a journalist, writer, and teacher. So Swami has worked as a part-time tutor at SOAS, and he's presently chief examiner for A-level panel at Cambridge University. He's working as a Hindu chaplain also for Her Majesty's Prison Services. He has postgraduate degrees in history and literature, and he passed all the Sanskrit and Bhagavad Gita exams at the Bharatanatyam Vidya Bhavan in Bombay. He had a long career in the media, and most of you will probably know him in terms of his work for the BBC World Service, where he was producer for the Tamil section, and he's also worked for Dinamani newspaper in India. He has written 3 books and over 3,000 articles in subjects on Tamil literature and journalism, and you can find many of these online on one of his many blogs, along with his online Tamil lessons. I highly recommend the blogs. They're a rich treasure trove of information. And since retiring, he's been doing research on Indology. So I am very, very privileged to have such a wealth of experience on the stage with me today. This is also going to be an audience participation event, and so we will have a few questions from the panel members, and then I will also ask you to get involved. Okay, I'll start with Mr. Kudiyandasamy. So you're president of the London Tamil Sangam, which was founded in 1936 and registered as a charity in 1960s. It's a very old organization. In your view, what is the present state of the education of Tamil language and culture in the community compared to previous decades?
Thank you, Mr. Bharatanatyam. Akaram mudala eduthallam Adi Bhagavan mudatrei ulagil. So we heard so many couplets in this composition of Bharatanatyam and everything, so it's my turn to say that Akaram mudala eduthallam. So we have London Tamil Sangam started in us. Mr. Bharatanatyam said, started 1936 by eminent personalities from India. Those you know, those are the people, the first finance minister of India, and also the veteran communist leader. So since then, it was visited by the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and then moved into East London. Since then, the London Tamil Sangam is propagating the Tamil language and the culture in a very creative way. We run a Tamil school of 180 children on Sundays. They are coming since the age of 4 and up to the A level. We are the London Tamil Sangam's registered examination center for the Cambridge University GCE Tamil and also the A level Tamil studies. So at the Tamil school, we are, for the students coming from variety of even we have a student, a student from French who started to learn Tamil, and we had people from Netherlands to study Tamil, and we have so many people coming to learn Tamil. In our Tamil school on Sundays, only 2-hour tuition is done by the volunteer teachers. We start from the age of 4 up to the age of 16. Since then, we have people coming from other institutions like teachers in Tamil, people who are teaching other subjects in other colleges who come to promote Tamil. Like A-level, if you study A-level Tamil, which is considered as one of the A-level subjects to capture your UCAS points when you're going to uni, that we ask the teacher to come and talk about it so that they can gain, as any other subjects, maths, English, science, Tamil. If you study A-level Tamil, you can get these 120 points, 160 points, whatever may be the grade, whether it's A grade or B grade. So since then, we have so many students coming in to study Tamil. And that's the Tamil Sangam is doing fantastically for the past 20-25 years in the East London. On the cultural side, London Tamil Sangam is organizing in a well-promoted event like Pongal Vida once a year, which will be attended by around 700-800 people all over the UK. So where we promote our culture, like any other culture of how we, as a Pongal, the Pongal, how people will invite and people to provide food and everything. So we also, it's part of the Tamil school as well, we are creating, the old and Tamil games, like, the Thayam and other kind of activities as a part of our Tamil school annual day celebrations, sports day celebrations, which also attract so many people. The younger generation get to know the older generation. We also getting visitors from India, Tamil Nadu, and also the grandparents who come to visit the grandchildren in UK, also come to talk to those children, what's the importance of learning those cultures, why we need them. As one of the participants said here, as a guest, when you host a guest, how the Moppa Kurayum Manicham, Mugam Thirindu Noka Kurayum Virundu. Those kind of stuff only we can learn in Tamil school, and the Tirukul advances that kind of activities through our Tamil Sangam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it sounds like, at least in the London Tamil Sangam, it's a very healthy situation at the moment for the study of Tamil. I'm now moving over to Mr. Swaminathan. You have many years' experience as a journalist and a teacher and an examiner. I'm really asking you now, what can we do here at Soas to complement the efforts that are being made at the community level?
Okay, good. Right. Since I got the question earlier, I have prepared some answer, but one warning, Tamils no only commas, no full stop. Please stop me when I'm exiting time.
Thank you.
Dear friends, good afternoon and vanakkam. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to express our views on the development of Tamil studies at Soas. The very fact that the government of India approached Soas to get some space for the installation of Tirukul statue, and the very fact that the Soas readily agreed show us the importance of Tamil here. What are the advantages Soas has got over other institutions? This is a prestigious institution with a long history of supporting South Asian culture. It is a huge library with a very rare and old Tamil books. Very near, we have got the world famous British Library with a treasure trove of old Tamil books. I have been posting on Facebook all the 100-year-old books for the past 2 years. I have touched only a fraction of the treasure trove. This has got a tremendous potential for research. If one-eyed person starts describing the beauty of nature or arts, we know that the person hasn't got the full view of the thing he describes. Mother India, Bharat Mata, has got 2 eyes, that is Tamil and Sanskrit. Sanskrit is available here. We've got a big department here, but Tamil is not available here. Soas is like a one-eyed giant. It is a handicapped person without Tamil. Tamil is not anywhere in the UK universities. It is a black mark on the country which boasts of a multicultural society. But we have Tamil at Cambridge University giving only A-level and O-level examinations. As I mentioned earlier, Soas is the best place to teach Tamil. Great Tamil poet Valvar has inspired generations of Tamil scholars. He is here to inspire us and guide us. Next comes Tamil Zone. We know that London is the financial capital of the world. It is in such a time zone, it covers the early morning Hong Kong share market, Tokyo share markets, and late evening New York market. No need to say that it covers all the European markets as well. Friends, I tell you that London can be the Tamil capital of the world. We have got 100,000 Tamils living in the country. Plane loads of Tamil personnel are coming every week to work in computer and other industries. There are over 25 Tamil Hindu temples here, and there are over 130 Tamil organizations listed here in the yellow pages, and 100 dance and music schools are here. So, Tamils are living here without the language taught here. They all need the help to learn the language, particularly foreigners who are attracted towards Tamil culture are very keen to learn the language. Every day, British tourists are landing at the airports of Tamil-speaking countries such as India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Singapore, Seychelles, South Africa, and far away Fiji, Mauritius, and Guyana as well. In the past, they tried to organize Tamil summer schools here, but they tried without much success because the community was not involved. They need our help. If we help the Soas to bring more people here, Soas can help to support the language. I used to meet my Sri Lankan solicitor friend and chat with him on various topics. Once, he was for a separate country in Sri Lanka, but I was against it. Once we touched the topic of teaching Tamil at the University of London. Then I said it's going to die very soon because I have been working here for 20 years teaching Tamil. Then he asked me, I told him there are departments of Nepalese, Burmese, Sinhalese, etc., which have got half the population of Tamil in the world. He asked me why. They are from country, so they represent the country. Look, that's why I'm fighting for a Tamil country. I was surprised and shocked. I switched over to another topic quickly.
Thank you.
So, do the Soas want us to divide a country just to get a language department here? And the British, where I was recruited with the BBC Tamil service to come to the countries on 1st of January 1987. I have been living in this country for 30 years. That service, after 70 years, stopped 1 week ago on 30th February. Why did they stop it? Because there is no Sri Lankan politics. So they want politics, they want a separate country, then only they will have a department. Is it not ridiculous? Please start the department with such a division. And the last thing I want to teach is Tamil training. Sorry, I finished it very quickly. I told that there are over Tamil weekend schools in London alone. Last week, a Tamil organization was launched at Chelmsford. The teachers need good training, they need a uniform syllabus, they need the structure, and they need a certificate from a good institution like ours. So here we can play a big role. And I have got other topics. If there is a question at that time, I will discuss about the other topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you also for the comment about the commas and not the full stops. But it's so fascinating that I will indulge my speakers a little. I now turn to my colleague, Professor Michael Hutt. You've led SOAS's efforts to promote the study of South Asia for some years. In your time, what have you learnt about what it means to promote languages and cultures in an institution like this?
Thank you. I'm not sure which punctuation I specialise in. The unique feature of SOAS, as I'm sure you know, is its particular focus on Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. And we teach a whole range of different humanities and social sciences disciplines here in our approach to those societies of the world. But one of the most distinctive features of the school as a whole is the way in which it actually also incorporates training in language and more broadly in culture, and so linguistic fluency and also cultural fluency in enabling our students to become, not a very popular phrase at the moment, but I think one in political circles, but I think one that still rings true here, citizens of the world. And when we teach a language here, when we pursue the study of a language here, it's not just the instruction at an elementary level that we wish to maintain. It's a whole range of courses so that students can then come through the front door not knowing a particular language at all, and 3 or 4 years later, perhaps, if they're undergraduates, they will leave able to read, write, speak and understand that language to a very advanced level so that they are actually able to interact with its literature, its rituals, its society, its culture in its own language. And that's something that SOAS does uniquely, I think, in the UK. Now, I came here as an undergraduate in 1976, and I came to the South Asia, what was then the India department, actually. I think John Marr was a member of staff there. And at that time, SOAS was quite a small college of the University of London. And I think the India department probably had more professors than students. My Hindi class, I remember my first year Hindi class, I think there were 3 of us at the time. And the number of subjects and languages offered by that department in its various shapes and forms has shrunk over the years since then. So back then, 40 years ago, it offered courses in all levels, in Hindi, Nepali, Bengali, Urdu, Sanskrit, Marathi, Oriya, Sinhala, Tamil, and possibly 1 or 2 other languages that I can't remember. It now offers only 5 of those languages across the degrees, and these are degree-level courses that are taken for credit. So it had a large government subsidy. People weren't worried about the numbers of students. If there were no students for a particular subject 1 year, then the professor had more time for his or her research, and it wasn't a great crisis. Nowadays, we've moved into a very different financial and political environment. Soas is a very much bigger university and a much more independent institution. We have around 4,500 students on campus, roughly 50% undergraduate, 50% postgraduate, a very large proportion of students from beyond the UK, from continental Europe and the wider world. The undergraduates, of course, are now having to take out loans of £9,000 a year for their undergraduate degrees. If they're home students or European students, students from further afield have to pay a great deal more. So student decisions about which course and which program to follow are much more influenced now by concerns about their career and job prospects, which means that of the languages we offer, we see reasonably good and growing enrollments in languages such as Arabic and Chinese, but in languages of Africa and South Asia, with the possible exception of Hindi, we've seen a decrease in undergraduate demand. And we are in a market environment now. If there isn't demand for something, it's taken off the shelf when the person who teaches that subject retires, because the department can't make a financial case to the management of the university for replacing that person when he or she retires. So the government subsidy is gone. We are dependent upon income. Am I running out of time?
A little bit.
Okay, just a little bit more. So the environment the financial environment is quite hostile to subjects like my subject, Nepali, to the subject Tamil, and we have to look for ways of maintaining these subjects that involve special measures. The government is talking to the university sector and SOAS in particular about a new scheme which would involve the government offering some kind of matched funding for subjects for which the university has raised private philanthropic funding. We don't know in what measure yet, we don't know the exact details of this, but it makes it a little easier for us to go out to people who are friends of SOAS, who have particular interests in subjects we wish to maintain, to say, if you can help us financially, the government will match your donations, your help in some measure. And through the South Asia Institute, I'll just give one more mention, through the South Asia Institute, which has been up now for just over 3.5 years, we have managed to have some success in raising money for scholarships in the first case from the government of West Bengal, to whom we took our concerns about the future of Bengali language and culture teaching here. And they have funded for 2 a year master's scholarships and 1 PhD scholarship for students from West Bengal to come to SOAS to pursue their studies, to enable us to make a stronger case for the continuation of Bengali. And we've also been talking to a number of private individuals about creating scholarships for students to take particular courses, particular degrees. And the biggest success we've had so far is with Mr. Michael Palin of Monty Python fame, who gave us a 2-year scholarship for a student to take South Asian language and culture at postgraduate level. So those are a couple of the ways in which we can try to maintain these precious subjects and revive those that we no longer are feeling able to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And last but very much not least, Mr. Suresh Kumar, you're a big enthusiast for Tamil literature and a poet in your own right. What do you think an education in Tamil literature in the 21st century means?
Thank you, Dr. Meera. Anevarukkum vanakkam, good evening. And a very quick brief of where I come from. This is from the Brent Reading Circle of the Tamil. And very interestingly, they started at 2006 and we meet on every month last Saturday. And we choose a specific topic to discuss. Especially, interestingly, we start with the Tirukul, and it will be read and people will translate in the Parimaladakar Urai and of course in the version of Veerama Munivar or G.U. Pope. And then people will give their own ideas and how the Tirukul would have been meant for the present situation. And we go for different topics every month on month. A lot of people from India and Sri Lanka comes and join and give their discussion. So it's a interesting unity, and the topics will be given two weeks before the mail, and people will be ready for the Loving Saturday when we will come and meet, kind of. So it looks like a family gathering, and not only become friends, a lot of cultural exchanges are happening. That is in the front. Coming to your interesting question, what will be the Tamil literature, how it looks in the 21st century? I think what literature we should include is the global economy and growing technology. See, Tamils done trades in 11th century when Cholas have gone to Far East and Asia Pacific, and they have done the trade during those years. Even in the 7th century, where the very famous traveler Yuan Sang, when he came via Silk Route, and of course thanks to he came up to Kanchipuram of southern Tamil Nadu, and was surprised to see, my Chinese friend is there laughing, I could see her. So okay, so he came and he was surprised to see the trades were happening, in multi-level trades were happening, and people from different origins comes and trade there. And another interesting thing is the cultural, like Kanchi University is one of the very leading university, like Nalanda University. He has recorded both Nalanda and Kanchi University, and the Kanchi University also takes linguistic people from different part of the world. And very interestingly, it was the Soas of, I can say, there is a replica of Soas in the 7th century. I think, I really feel that the global economy and of course the technology, which is the driving forces of the present world, both of these things has to be a part of the 21st century literature of Tamil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you to all my speakers for their interventions. Obviously, one of the things that has come through over the course of the afternoon is how global the community of Tamils is. You can find Tamils in every continent, in every industry, in every part of the world. And that globality, that spread and that reach is a very old phenomenon. And one can think, of course, about the contributions of Tirukul in an age like this, when Professor Manuval was speaking about the importance of truth. I was thinking about Donald Trump and his fake news outbursts, and how important it is to still think about studying the truth and promoting education today. Okay, I have a question which I was going to ask to my panel, but I think I'm going to throw it maybe directly out to the audience. So can I, Tej has got a roving mic. So my question to all of you, feel free to contribute. It's really about the future of Tamil studies. What should we be doing here at Soas? We're a university, we're in London. Maybe London is the city of the Tamils, to connect them around the world, wherever they are. It's certainly a place with facilities. It's a place, we're at Soas with a great library, and we have a very lively young population of Tamils especially. So what should the future priorities for the study of Tamil be in this city? We have Dr. John Ma, who's straight off the bat.
Thank you. I'm encouraged by one of the participants, and of course a salutary note from Mike Hutt there of the other. 9,000 a year to be an undergraduate. That's the discouraging bit. The encouraging bit is Tamil Reading Group at Brent. Now, why do I single out these two things? I have the privilege at Bhavan of teaching a number of the children, some of whom you've seen dance and heard sing. How many of them whose mother tongue is Tamil, and there are others, by the way, other languages, how many of them read the script? They speak the language, but they don't read the script. They are living in a totally different language environment. And if you doubt that, then a girl whose name we all would know, both in this audience and at the Bhavan, a girl whose name is, say, Vanita, what will she come out as? Vanita, with a stress moved. And this is one of the problems, is the redistribution of stresses in the words. One of the benefits that I had many years at Soas was a first-rate phonetics and linguistics department. And they put the fear of the Lord into one if you didn't pronounce things properly. Now, with Tamil, the necessity is to read the script. Then you will know where the long vowels are, and even, dare one say, to pronounce the consonant at the end of the word, Tamil. Don't worry, the Greeks couldn't work it out, the Romans couldn't work it out, Ashoka edicts couldn't work it out either. So there we are. But this is my point, is that it's necessary to retain the phonemics of the Tamil language. And the only way is to insist on being able to read. Most of the children now are what one could call the third generation, whom I teach. I have to teach through the Roman script, admittedly the approved international version with dots and dashes and so on.
Thank you, Doctor.
Simply because they cannot read Tamil. They cannot read Kannada. They cannot read Telugu. There are exceptions, and I accept it. But surprise was expressed when it was found that Dr. Lakshmi Gohendran, who directed the dance items and announced them, she's a practicing doctor. She was many years ago. I'm delighted she was one of my students. She reads Tamil, and this was a matter of surprise.
John, could we open up the floor a little more, please?
Tamil script to be used, and also to make a career of language acceptable in a climate of 9,000 a year. Oh, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be an engineer. How do we change that?
Thank you.
I'd like to take some further interventions from the floor. If you could keep them as brief as possible so we can include as many of you as possible, that would be marvellous. I'll start here with my friend there and then go to the lady in front of him, and I will come back and around. Thank you.
I'll break the trend and speak in Tamil. திருக்குறள் பற்றி பேச புறப்பட்ட நாங்கள் ஆங்கிலத்திலே பேசுவது ஓரளவுக்கு வெட்கமாக இருக்கிறது. ஓரிரு ஆங்கிலேயருக்காக ஆங்கிலத்தில் பேச வேண்டிய ஒரு அவசியம் இருந்தாலும் பெரும்பாலான பேச்சுக்கள் தமிழில் நிகழ்வது நல்லது என்று நான் நினைக்கிறேன். ப்ரொஃபஸர் மார் அவர்கள் உச்சரிப்பை பற்றி சொன்னார். அதாவது ழகரம் லகரம் லகரம், நகரம் நகரம், ரகரம் ரகரம் ஆகிய உச்சரிப்புகள் வேற்றவர்களுக்கல்ல தமிழர்களுக்கும் கடினமான ஒன்றுதான். இந்த நாட்டிலே தமிழ் பயில வருகின்ற மாணவர்கள் ஆங்கிலம் பயின்ற பின்னர் தான் தமிழ் பயில வருகிறார்கள். ஆகவே ஆங்கிலத்தின் மூலம் தமிழை பயிற்றினால் இந்த ஒலியை அவர்கள் எளிதாக பிடித்துக் கொள்வார்கள் என்பது என்னுடைய நம்பிக்கை. அந்த அடிப்படையிலேயே தமிழ் த்ரூ இங்கிலீஷ் என்ற ஒரு 600 பக்க நூலை நான் எழுதியிருக்கிறேன். கேர்ள் கேல், இல்லனாவை உச்சரிப்பதற்கு கேர்ள் என்பதை சொன்னால் மாணவன் புரிந்து கொள்வான். இல்லனாவை புரிந்து கொள்வதற்கு கேல் என்று சொன்னால் புரிந்து கொள்வான். சிறப்பு ழகரம் என்பது இன்றல்ல, தேவார காலத்திலேயே பிரச்சனைக்குள்ளாகிவிட்டது. தேவார காலம் அல்ல, திருக்குறள் காலத்திலேயே அந்த பிரச்சனை வந்துவிட்டது. ஆகவே இழிவு என்ற சொல்லை திருவள்ளுவர் கூட சிறப்பு ழகரம் போடாமல் சாதாரண லகரம் போட்டு இழிவு என்று பல இடங்களிலே எழுதியிருக்கிறார். குறிப்பாக நாங்கள் ஒலியை சீராக இதென்றால் ப்ரொஃபசர் மா சொன்னது போல டயக்ரிட்டிக்ஸ் மார்க்ஸை போட்டு எழுத பழக வேண்டும். மெட்ராஸ் யூனிவர்சிட்டி லெக்சிகன் 1930ஆம் ஆண்டிலே இந்த வழியை உங்களுக்கு வகுத்து தந்தது. நீங்கள் அதை பின்பற்றவில்லை. அதை நீங்கள் பின்பற்ற வேண்டும். இன்னும் மேலாக கடைசியாக தமிழிலே பேசாமல், வீட்டிலே பேசாமல் மேடையிலே வராது. ராஜநட பழகினால் ஒழிய மேடைக்கு வராது. இதை நீங்கள் புரிந்து கொள்ள வேண்டும். நன்றி.
Thank you. Okay, I will pass it to the lady in front there. Thank you.
Thank you for organising today. It's been a treat. I think my comment is more about SOAS specifically.
Yeah, you're on. That's fine.
I think SOAS students are quite famous for being very liberal and very engaged, but these are students who are already through the door and who already want to learn language, who already want to engage with culture. I think perhaps what SOAS and universities in a wider context could do is take that understanding out and make sure that people are integrating in a different way. I don't know if that's something that SOAS can do to kind of to leave London, to leave the students who are already coming there, but I think a wider understanding of the culture and the language could help with greater engagement.
Thank you. I will go around the room. I will take these two gentlemen on this side and lady at the back. Sorry, yes, please. But if you wait until you have the microphone, then the recording will capture you. Sorry, just wait until you have the microphone, please.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். My name is Santana Swaminathan. My question is directed towards the SOAS rep on the stage and to Professor Swaminathan as well. I have a passion for Tamil language and I would like to follow Sir சொன்ன மாதிரி தமிழிலேயே பேசணும், எல்லாரும் தமிழை வளர்க்க தமிழிலேயே பேசணும்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. But the question is, despite the Hori tradition, despite our culture, despite the literature that other languages can't even match, most languages can't even match, why do we still struggle to propagate the Tamil language? And we struggle even within the Tamil community and with institutes such as SOAS, if they can't go find the funding for it. How are we supposed to develop, how are we supposed to take Tamil through to the next generation? Because you've been part of this university and you've been a professor, the question is directed towards you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take a few other quick. There's a model of brevity, which I liked a lot. Thanks. Take the gentleman behind you. Yeah. We'll take a few and then we will come back to the panel. Thank you.
Sorry, name is Sivanathan. Staying with the pronunciation part of it. Now, Tamil is actually, when you say it in Tamil, is Tamil. And when you write it, you write T-A-M-I-L, Tamil. There is a slight contradiction here. So why not SOAS take the lead and get the correct pronunciation, the spelling on the dictionary and so forth? Tamil as T-H-A-M-I-L as opposed to T-A-M-I-L.
Okay, I will come back for another round of questions. I will take one more on this side and then all of you who I've been neglecting on this side I will come back to. Yep.
Hello, my name is Karthik and Sivam. What I have to say follows on from every speaker that spoke before me. First, the gentleman who spoke first, I can't remember your name, apologies for that, but I pay a lot of respect and I offer massive props to you for pronouncing Tamil as it's meant to be pronounced Tamil. And then following in from after that, the gentleman who spoke, I can't remember what exactly was said, but my point is that Tamil is extremely intricate and it should be addressed as such, but the history of Tamil people all over the world, I think that needs to be acknowledged more so. The indentured labourers from India who went to Sri Lanka, who live still in squalor, to those in Malaysia, in Singapore, they need to be acknowledged within the studies of SOAS and other institutions. And I would also like it to be known, I would like the awareness to be spread as to why non-Tamils appreciates and have wonderment towards Tamil culture and the Tamil language. And I think that's what needs to happen. We need to understand the inequalities that still exist across the Tamil diaspora, and also why non-Tamils appreciate Tamil culture and the language so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's a lot of very great contributions from the floor. I will take a quick set of answers from my participants here on the stage, and I will go back out for some more questions. But we've only got about 6 more minutes, so I will ask you to be brief if you have anything to contribute. I'll start with Mr. Kutiyandasamy.
Okay. தமிழிலேயே பேசுகிறேன். அந்த நண்பர் சொன்னது போல் தமிழில், அதாவது எங்களுடைய பள்ளியில் தமிழில் சேர்கின்ற பொழுதே 4 வயது குழந்தைகள் சேருகிறார்கள். அவர்களை நாங்கள் முக்கியமாக சொல்லுவது என்னவென்றால், ஆங்கிலம் கற்பது எளிது. இங்கே அந்த ஆரம்ப பள்ளியில், பிரைமரி ஸ்கூலில் அந்த பள்ளியில் இருக்கும் பொழுது அந்த வயதுக்குள்ளாக எவ்வளவு தூரம் நம்மளுடைய கலாச்சாரத்தையும் தமிழ் பண்பாடையும் தமிழ் பண்பாடு தமிழ் கல்வியையும் நாம் கற்றுக் கொடுக்கிறோமோ நம்ம பிள்ளைகளுக்கு, அது மிகவும் பயனுள்ளதாக இருக்கும். அவருடைய பெற்றோர்களிடத்திலும் சரி, அவர்களுடைய பாட்டனார் பாட்டியர்களிடத்திலும் சரி கதைக்கின்ற பொழுது அவர்கள் தமிழில் கதைக்கின்ற அந்த ஆரம்ப கால அந்த கதைத்தல் என்பது மிகவும் மிகவும் முக்கியமானது. அதை அவர்கள் மறக்க, நாம் பெற்றோர்களாகிய நாம் அதை ஒருங்கிணைத்து அதை நாம் எவ்வளவு தூரம் முக்கியம் கொடுத்து நாம் அவர்களை கதைத்து கொண்டு அந்த பிள்ளைகளிடத்திலே தமிழ் மொழி, அந்த தமிழ் உச்சரிப்பை அவர் சொல்லுகின்ற போது தமிழ் உச்சரிப்பு மிகவும், தமிழுக்கே அழகு, தமிழ் என்று சொன்னாலே அமிழ்து என்று வரும். தமிழுக்கே அழகு அதன் உச்சரிப்பு தான். எந்த மொழியிலும் அந்த தமிழை போல் அந்த உச்சரிப்பு எந்த மொழியிலும் கிடையாது. ஆகவே பெற்றோர்களாகிய நாம் அந்த பிள்ளைகளுக்கு ஆரம்பம் முதலே அந்த ஆரம்ப பள்ளியை தாண்டுவதற்குள்ளாக எவ்வளவு தூரம் நாம் அந்த தமிழை சொல்லிக் கொடுக்கிறோமோ, தமிழில் நாம் கதைக்கிறோமோ, அதுதான் அவர்களுக்கு அடிப்படையாக தோன்றும். பின்னால் அவர்கள் ஆங்கிலத்தை எளிதாக கற்றுக்கொண்டு தமிழிலையும் ஆங்கிலத்தையும் கலந்துரையாடுவதற்கு மிகவும் நன்மையாக இருக்கும். நன்றி.
அவர் திரு குட்டியாண்டி அவர்கள் சொன்னதை தொடர்ந்து நான் என்ன சொல்ல விரும்புகிறேன் என்றால், சிறு வயதிலே நம்முடைய அன்னையர்கள் நமக்காக நிறைய பெட் டைம் ஸ்டோரிஸ் சொல்லி கொடுத்திருக்கிறார்கள். தமிழில் அருமையான குழந்தைகளுக்கான கதைகள் இருக்கின்றன. தமிழை குழந்தைகளிடம் உடனடியாக கொண்டு சேர்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயம் என்றால் கதை சொல்லுதல். அது இந்த காலகட்டத்திலே குறைந்து கொண்டு வருகிறது என்பது ஒரு வருத்தக்கூடிய விஷயம். பொதுவாக நான் I'm telling my own experience. நான் என்னுடைய பையனுக்காக பொன்னியின் செல்வனின் கதையை எவ்ரி நைட் ஐ வில் டெல். என்னுடைய இரவு அந்த கதையை சொல்வதற்காக அவன் காத்திருந்து ஹோம்ஒர்க்கெல்லாம் முடித்துவிட்டு ஓடி வருவான் படிக்க அறைக்கு. தினமும் ஒரு 1/2 மணி நேரம் சொல்வேன். அதை மிகுந்த ஆர்வத்துடன் கேட்பான். ஆக குழந்தைகளை தமிழுக்கு கொண்டு வருவதற்கு, சின்ன வயதிலிருந்தே கொண்டு வருவதற்கு மிகப்பெரிய ஊண்டுகோலாக இருக்கும் என்பது பெட் டைம் ஸ்டோரிஸ் என்று என்னுடைய கருத்தாக நினைக்கிறேன்.
Thank you. It's delightful to hear Tamil spoken here. Not all of our speakers will have it. So some of the points you may want to also repeat in English for the benefit of some of the non-Tamil speakers here. Thank you.
Okay, on the question of how to go about it and why hasn't it happened so far that we have dedicated position on Tamil at Soas. I'm not a representative of Soas management, so I can't obviously speak for the school's executive board. But the way I see it is that there's a range of possible provision. One is the minimal level, which is basically to have somebody paid for a number of hours to teach beginners Tamil language to students that wish to take it, and to make those courses available in a whole range of different syllabuses as we have at Soas. Just about every student, at least in theory, can take a language regardless of which degree program they're in. That's the minimal provision. A one language course for students that don't already know Tamil. Maybe also a literacy course for students who do know Tamil but haven't learned to read and write it. The other end of the scale is a position where you have, again, the professionally trained and excellent language teacher for Tamil, but you also have a scholar who is conducting research, supervising PhDs, teaching graduate level courses on Tamil literature, society, culture, music, or whatever the field will be. The situation at the moment is, very briefly, we do have a number of people whose work focuses on the Tamil-speaking area of India, but that's sort of by accident, because when we recruit, for instance, an anthropologist, the anthropology department will look for somebody who does a particular kind of anthropology, cultural anthropology, political anthropology, social anthropology, or whatever, and they will bring their regional expertise with them, and that's kind of random. What we're looking for here, I think, is an opportunity to find a way of creating positions that are actually wedded to a region, and will always be that way, so that there is a Tamil interest at SOAS, as there is currently at least a Nepali interest at SOAS, incarnate, if I can use that word, in a particular scholar or pair of scholars who handle the language, the culture at undergraduate, graduate, and research levels as well.
Thank you. Swami, would you like to?
We are going to finish the meeting in 5 minutes. So, what is the way forward? I will touch the funding question as well. Restart the courses that were stopped very recently. Get teachers from India on secondment and like the BBC World Service. Meet every third month to maintain the momentum and get the Tamil community involved in it. Start a movement like the Harvard University Tamil Chair movement and start collect funding. Involve all the Tamils in the organization by organizing every third month some event and the Tamil excuse. So, when the Vivekananda Rock Memorial was set up in Kanyakumari, we went to every office and gave a Vivekananda picture and asked only 1 rupee at that time, 40 years ago. So we can collect £1 from everyone by giving Thiruvalluvar book or Thiruvalluvar picture. Right? Why was it stopped in Soas and what do we do for funding? We have got funding. It has been going on for 20 years and suddenly they stopped it. They were playing games. I will tell you the secret. It is called poaching. Poaching means secret, hunting illegally. I didn't even know the name. When Stuart Blackburn, who was my professor, who recruited me to teach Tamil 4 hours out of 4 hours every week, he was meeting me in the library. And how is it going, Swami? I said, so it's going to die so very soon. Then, so still the poaching is going on. What is poaching? First of all, when the South Asia department head is approached by the students, young students, they will say, sorry, we don't know whether Tamil is going to run this year or not. They will be discouraged. And then they will, because they got a Nepalese department, because they got a Burmese department, because they got a Sinhalese department, they first push the students to them because they are getting fair salary. They will justify the departments running here. And then the last 4 students will be there. And they will be struggling like rudderless ships. And there will be a call to me, Swami, can you please come and assist these students? When they come here, that is the day to sign the course. Sorry, this evening we have to sign the course. Will the course run? Sorry, I can't promise you. I can't spoil your life. So do whatever you want to come here. Thank you.
Okay, so I will take another quick round of questions from the audience. Can you put up your hand clearly if you want to? Okay, there are more hands than I will have time for. I will take the gentleman here in the pink shirt, I will take the lady up in the corner, and I will take the gentleman holding the camera on that side to begin with. Tej, if you could come here. Thanks. Is that on?
Yeah, but we can hear.
Yes, speaking. No. Swap it?
There is one mic here.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we have one.
வணக்கம், அடியேன் பெயர் செல்வராஜ். நான் கேட்கப் போகும் கேள்வி இந்த பல்கலைக்கழக ஆசிரியர்களுக்கும் உபயோகமாக இருப்பதால் ஆங்கிலத்தில் கேட்க விரும்புகிறேன், மன்னிக்கவும். When Dr. John was telling about his passion on Sangat Tamil, that is classical literature, I felt very ashamed, not only as a Tamil, but also as one from Ettayapuram. So my question to the panel is there any way we can make the children interested in Tamil literature? Not just read and write, but go further and interest in the Tamil literature. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. The lady at the back.
Hello, my name is Arini. Thank you very much for such a great afternoon. I wanted to go back to answer the question you asked, which is what can Soas do for us? And being someone like you who was forced to go to Tamil school to learn Tamil, I think, and now doing exactly the same thing to my children and sending them to Tamil school, I know there's a lot of Tamil schools in the London area really promoting Tamil, who are filled with wonderful volunteers who try their very best to teach our children. I'm very grateful to all their help, but I wonder if Soas can help them by improving the level of teaching, by sending younger students from Soas who are enthusiastic about the subject, who can then show the younger children like my children how great a language Tamil is and what it can do for them. And that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And we had a question from the young man just on this side. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just would like to recall two people's great contribution to around this Thiruvalluvar statue. One is Mr. A. Selvaraja, who conducted a Tamilology conference in 2013. So we got the opportunity to attend that function, and accompanied by Mr. Jacob Ravipalan, President of World Tamil Organization, President of FETA UK organization. So we both found that the statue was not in good condition, and then we took it to the Soas management. And in 2014, we organized our first get-together. In 2015, we organized the first Thiruvalluvar Festival Day. And in 2016, the statue was not there. And in 2017, we did it. And we have promised to do it again and again every year. Okay, this is one thing, so which I would like to recall two people into this forum. And my request is, Soas holds the largest collection of Tamil manuscripts, and as we know, Tirukul is again came to Tamil culture only after 18th century. So there are several such treasures are hidden inside the manuscript form, and Soas can take the lead initiative to translate them or to put them back to digital format. So I would like to request on behalf of the Tamil community to take leadership on this role to the head of Soas now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I will take one more comment. Actually, our South Asian librarian is right here in the room, so I will ask her actually to just contribute on this point.
So thank you very much. My name is Farzana. I am, as you said, the South Asia librarian here at Soas. We're always looking to raise the profile of Tamil language. We have a number of palm leaf manuscripts, actually, that have very limited catalogue records, are quite fragile, need conservation, and we are looking, actually, for donation money for this. So just to let you know, it's something that's not being left on the wayside. We are very much interested in raising the profile of Tamil. I think also what would be great is if we could have more community participation with schools, with the library, with scholars, with lecturers, academics, if we could all work together to perhaps, as you say, raise the profile of Tamil literature. So we'd be very interested in your interesting offer, and perhaps later we could talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. There are more hands up, but it is 5:30 now, so I think I'm going to draw this session to a close, and with the speaker's indulgence, I won't come back to them for a final round. Thank you all very much. These are extremely constructive suggestions, and as we take forward this new drive to raise money and to raise awareness about Tamil studies, we will certainly be incorporating all of these. What we hope to do is be part of that Tamil ecosystem in London, parts of the Tamil schools, with the Tamil community, with the reading groups, with the young ones, and to play the role that a university should play, which is a space for advanced study, deeper learning, criticism, discussion, and involvement of the different kinds of areas. So we've already talked about history and economics and so on. This is it for this slot. We have a vote of thanks, which I believe will be given by Tej, but thank you for your participation.
Okay, is this working? I can use this one actually. Thank you all for spending the entire afternoon. We know how precious our weekends are. And on behalf of the organizing committee of today's event, which includes Dr. Meera Sabaratnam, Professor Michael Hutt, who actually was part of the inception of this in conversation with Balasubramaniam Chandramohan, who has obviously been here all throughout the day, the SOAS Development Office, and of course the South Asia Institute. I want to thank you for sharing in this day and commemorating Thiruvalluvar, and in also sharing in your enthusiasm for the support for taking the idea of reinstituting Tamil studies here at SOAS. I think you'll all agree that it's been an enriching and enjoyable afternoon. And also that the commemoration that we've done in the garlanding and in the discussions and talks show that it's not just about the statue of Thiruvalluvar that's here. He might appear as a sort of icon of Tamil studies, but he's also, a very precious icon of SOAS, and we would like to continue this conversation. So in reaching out to you on behalf of the South Asia Institute, I would like to encourage you, to spread the word. If you would like to yourselves or know of people who would be interested in getting involved in supporting Tamil studies, please do get in touch with us and to carry this conversation on. So thank you all, and I wish you all safe journeys home. Thank you.